Hey everyone, it's Lainey. Welcome back and welcome if you're new. Today's card is super easy and fast, especially if you need to make a few of these. I purchased this stencil from Spellbinders a while ago. It's the geometric butterfly, and I don't have the dies or anything. It's just the stencil, and it's quite large. So I'm going to go ahead and take it out of the packaging. Sorry for that noise. And as you can see, it has the butterfly, and then it has some little detail cutouts around it that you can use for other things and incorporate in the butterfly if you would like. So first things first, I'm going to bring in my A2 size panel here. This is 110-pound cardstock, and I will have to trim it down a bit, but I want to do some ink blending first. So obviously for this size card, I can't fit the entire butterfly on the panel. So I'm just going to angle it a bit. So as it's angled, I'm just looking around the edges because I'm going to trim this down a bit. So I wanted to be mindful of that. So I think this is a pretty good spot. So now I'm just going to take my masking tape here and make sure this is straight and just tape it down. I love this mint tape. I use it for ink blending and masking off, and it's repositionable. I purchased it from scrapbook.com and I'm obsessed. So I am covering the little details because I don't want to accidentally, fill those in. But I think this is pretty good. All right, so the colors I have pulled for this stencil is mustard seed, spiced marmalade, and picked raspberry. Kind of summer themed, and I'm just going to simply start to ink blend and incorporate all three colors. So I'll speed this up a bit and put on some music, but I love this color combination. I was playing with it a bit yesterday, and as I said in the previous card video, I have just been really enjoying playing with my distressed inks and finding new color combinations and masking and ink blending. So I definitely recommend bringing out your inks for this spring and moving into the summer season. Alrighty, so I'm just going to tap off the little excess here because it comes in quite vibrant, and I'm just going to start ink blending. So now you can see that I've come in with a heavy hand. The colors are very saturated, and that's the look that I'm going for. I wanted it to be a very bold card. So I'm just going to come in a little bit more with the colors, and then the ink blending will be done. But I just wanted to show you kind of where it was at this point. And I'm just going to come in a little bit more, like I said, and help those colors blend together and really make sure that it is the shade that I want. I really like the mustard seed and the picked raspberry. When they begin to mix together, it's creating an orange. So it's kind of bringing in the spiced marmalade in a different spot. And adding just a little bit more of that mustard seed up at the top there, where there's quite a bit of pink, just to lighten up that area just a bit. All right, so I'm going to start peeling back the masking tape for the big reveal. I had to add a little more while I was ink blending because I was getting a little too wide with my ink blending. This is the best part. So excited. Let's pick this up. How pretty. So pretty. All the colors are really shining through. I love this. All right, so I'm going to set this aside. I'll have to wash this off at the end. But before we move forward, I'm actually going to move my panel and clean my glass mat. Alrighty, so let's bring in our panel again. It's quite saturated, so it is still kind of wet, but what we're gonna do next is going to be fine. So I need to bring in my paper trimmer, and this is an A2 size, so it is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and not quite sure on how much I want to trim off, but it's not going to be very much. So let's see here, just a little sliver on both sides, which will bring it to 4 inches. And now I think my final measurements are going to be 4 by 5 inches. Okay, let's bring in the panel, or the card base rather. Okay, so we have a little thicker of a margin on the top and the bottom, but for this card and how the butterfly is angled, I think that that is going to be perfect. So the end measurement is 4 by 5 instead of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And let's go ahead and just make this permanent. So bringing in my magnets here, let's make sure our card base is straight. And do I want to build this up, or do I want to just attach it straight to the panel? You know what? I think I want to pop this up. So let me get some double-sided foam tape for that. Okay, so this I've used before, and it is just an inexpensive roll from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to go ahead and move that back over so it doesn't get stuck to anything. And I'm just going to measure the strip. Ooh, goodness sakes. I'm going to measure the strips and then just cut them down to size. Alrighty, so I'm going to just align it. Sorry if my head's in the way. Line it at the edge there. And just repeat the process here. Yeah, and it did it again. There's too much of a gap there. Let's see, let's turn it around. Yes, unfortunately, crud. So what I'm gonna have to do is cut this down and then cut this in half and just fit it in there. And this is just personal preference. I mean, I should have spaced them out better, but you know, I knew better. I knew what I was trying to avoid, and I still made it happen, but I'll get it fixed. No one will see this part of the card anyways. Okay, that's much better. And what I'll do with this extra piece is just stick it back to the roll and use it for another project. All right, so let's move in our card base once more, making sure that it is aligned. Yes, I'm so glad that I propped it up. I'm going to go ahead and remove the backers here and then apply a little bit of liquid glue to it just so I have a little more time to make sure that this is aligned within the card base. Because if you've been watching me for any length of time, you know that I get things crooked and misaligned constantly. It's just a really, really annoying battle. So I have to use the glue just to help me out a bit. Alrighty, so it's all glued up. Uh-oh, let's turn it around here. Alright, so I pulled a little scrap piece of Concord and 9th. This is Honeysuckle. And what I was doing was just going through my paper and seeing which one kind of matched. And I was really preferring to go with the pink because there's less pink within the butterfly. And I feel like the Honeysuckle will balance this composition just because there's, you know, a lot more of the orange and yellow throughout the butterfly. So we'll just bring in the pink again. And I have these Spellbinders stamps here but one of them, the thank you, has the coordinating die. So I'm going to go ahead and use this thank you here. Alrighty, so I think we're going to do some embossing powder. So I'm going to bring in my mini Misty and position this in the corner. Alright, so first things first, I need my anti-static. And I really need to get a different anti-static. This thing drives me crazy. It gets everywhere. And we need to position our stamp. Close the door. And I'm going to just go ahead and stamp this up with my Versamark. I've used this stamp quite a few times, so it should stamp out quite well. And just going to press the door down a bit. Oh, and that is perfect. Okay, so I'm only going to stamp it once. So I'm going to go ahead and just move this aside, leaving my door open because it's got that Versamark on there. And bringing in just a piece of copy paper, catch paper here. I'm going to be using white superfine detail. And I purchase all my embossing powders from Hobby Lobby, if you're curious. And I'm just going to pour it all over that stamp. And I like to let it set for a moment and then tap off the excess. And I have that kind of, I don't really like how that's stamped out. Let me see if I can remedy some of this with a paintbrush. Nope, that is not going to work. So what I'm going to do is just dust all of this off and start over. I'm just going to re-stamp it on the other side and see if that's a better impression. I just feel like I've got a little bit too much of the Versamark in some areas, and I don't want that to melt onto my card. So let me start over real quick. Alright, so this is a much better impression. So just adding a little more powder there. Alright, and before we melt the powder, I'm going to go ahead and pour this back into the jar. Alright, so I'm going to bring in my heat tool, turn it on high, and let this heat up for about 20 to 30 seconds, and then apply it to my paper and watch the embossing powder melt. This is my favorite part. And there I have it. So pretty. Alright, so now I need to bring in the dies and cut this out. I'm just making sure that it is aligned the best that I can align it. And I will have to cut them out separately. I'll have to cut the thank out first and then the U, because the dies kind of butt up to each other and I'm not able to cut them both out at the same time. Alrighty. So perfect. Now we have our greeting or sentiment. And let me get some of this stuff out of the way. Okay, bringing back in our card. Let's magnetize that down, and like I discussed before, I wanted to bring in more pink because the bottom half is very yellow and orange. So now I just need to kind of play with the thank you and see how I want to position the text. So I think that's a great position. So I'm going to bring in my tweezers here just to hold it while I apply liquid glue to the back. And align it, make sure it's straight. And I'm just going to hold that down because I don't have my pressing blocks out on my desk. Okay, and repeat the process. And offset this. Again, making sure it's straight. And actually, I'm just going to use my pressing plate. Let's put the magnet on top of it just to add some additional pressure and let that sit and dry for a moment. Okay. So that is adhered, and I already pulled some embellishments. I love gold, so I was definitely gravitating towards this. And these are from Hobby Lobby, and they're just self-adhesive gold gems. And it's helpful to use a weeding tool. And I think I kind of want to focus still down here at the bottom. I don't really like that. Let me pick it up and look at it at a different angle. I think that these need to be shifted over a bit. And I'm wondering if I should put 3 down here at the bottom. Let me play with a couple of more and kind of see what looks best. Okay, I think that is it. So I put 3 down here, 2 smalls and the larger one, and then just the 2 there. So there's an odd number. That's typically more visually appealing, personal preference as well. And that's the finished card. Super simple ink blending. I will link the colors that I used down below. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it or found any inspiration from this card, and I would love it if you subscribed, but the thumbs up really help my channel, so I greatly appreciate it if you take the time to do that. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week with another card. Bye everyone, and have a good day.